Let's talk about something that seems simple, but is one of the hardest things you'll ever do: being yourself. We live in a world that constantly tells you who you should be, what you should wear, how you should talk, what you should believe. And if you're not careful, you end up living a life built on other people's expectations instead of your own truth. But here's the secret. The most powerful way to change the world isn't by trying to be someone else. It's by fully embracing who you already are. That's where the magic is. Because the world doesn't need another copy. It needs your originality. When you show up as yourself unapologetically, give silent permission for others to do the same. Think about that. Every time you choose honesty over pretending, courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, you become a ripple in someone else's life. Maybe they see you standing firm in your own skin and realize they can too. Being yourself isn't about being loud or rebellious for the sake of it. It's about alignment. It's about living in a way that your actions, your words, your values all tell the same story. It's about doing what feels right, even when it isn't easy, and even when not everyone will clap for you. Yes, you will lose people along the way. Not everyone will like the real you. Some will misunderstand you. Some will question you. But those who are meant for you will stay, and their presence will be richer, deeper, and more meaningful than any shallow approval you might have gained by pretending. When you live this way, something shifts, not just in you, but in the world around you. Because when one person chooses to be real, it challenges the illusion that we all have to fake it to belong. Authenticity creates a chain reaction. It's contagious. So don't underestimate the impact of your own truth. You might think, I'm just one person. How can I change the world? But you don't have to change the whole world. You just have to change someone's world. And you do that by showing up as the truest version of yourself, whether that's through kindness, honesty, creativity, or courage. So here's the challenge. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown. Stop hiding your light just because it makes someone else uncomfortable. Stop apologizing for being exactly who you are. The world doesn't need you to blend in. It needs you to stand out. Because the moment you start being yourself without hesitation, you're not just living, you're leading. You're showing others what's possible. And that is how one authentic life can change the world, one person at a time. Would you like me to also write a conclusion for this speech that feels strong and memorable, or keep it as is? Authenticity is powerful. The most impactful way to change the world is by embracing who you truly are, not trying to be a copy of someone else. Being yourself inspires others when you show up as your authentic self. You give others silent permission to do the same, creating a ripple effect. Living in alignment matters. True self-expression means your actions, words, and values all tell the same honest story, even when it's not easy. Not everyone will accept the real you. Some people will leave or misunderstand you, but the right people will stay and create deeper, more meaningful connections. Authenticity creates change. By refusing to shrink or hide, you lead by example, proving that one genuine life can influence and inspire others, changing the world one person at a time. Want me to turn these key points into short, punchy quotes you could use for social media captions or slides? The power of authenticity, how being truly yourself can change the world. There is nothing more powerful than a person who is fully comfortable in their own skin. In a world that constantly pushes you to conform, to fit into boxes, and to meet expectations that were never truly yours, authenticity becomes a revolutionary act. It is easy to follow trends, to imitate what seems popular, or to mold yourself into what others want. But the truth is, the most impactful way to change the world is not by being a reflection of someone else. It is by being the purest, most unapologetic version of yourself. Think about it. Every major shift in society, every breakthrough in art, science, and even social movements came from someone who refused to follow the crowd. They chose their own path, even when it was lonely. They believed in their ideas, their values, and their identity, even when it was misunderstood. Why? Because they knew that pretending to be something they weren't would never create real change. It is only when you bring your authentic self into the world that something unique and powerful emerges, something no one else can duplicate. When you are authentic, you stop living through the lens of approval. You stop seeking validation from people who don't even know your heart. Instead, you start living in alignment with what truly matters to you. And when you live this way, you radiate a quiet strength that people notice. They might not always agree with you, but they will respect you. Your truth becomes a mirror for others to see their own. Authenticity doesn't mean you are perfect. It doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you are honest about who you are, your strengths, your flaws, your journey. And this honesty is what creates real connection. Think about the people who inspire you the most. They're not the ones who pretend to have it all figured out. They're the ones who dare to be real. They share their struggles, their lessons, their story without shame. And in doing so, they give you courage to embrace your own story too. But let's be real, being yourself is not always easy. It will challenge you. You will face judgment. Some people won't like the real you because it doesn't fit their expectations. You might lose relationships that were built on a version of you that wasn't genuine. And that's okay, because when you let go of what isn't meant for you, you make space for what is. You attract people, opportunities, and experiences that truly align with who you are. And here's where the magic happens. When you live authentically, you don't just transform your own life, you start to transform the lives around you. You become an example. You show others that they don't have to pretend either. You become the spark that ignites courage in someone else. That ripple effect is how one person, simply by being real, can start to change the world. So embrace who you are fully and without apology. Your thoughts, your voice, your perspective matter. You were not born to be a copy. You were born to be an original. And the world is waiting for the gift of your authenticity. Being yourself inspires others. The ripple effect of authentic living. Have you ever noticed how one person's courage can unlock something in you? How seeing someone stand confidently in their truth makes you feel like maybe you can too. That's the hidden power of authenticity. When you show up as your true self, you're not just living for you. You're silently giving others permission to do the same. We live in a world where so many people are hiding behind masks of perfection, hiding their real thoughts because they're afraid of being judged, hiding their dreams because they're scared of failure or ridicule. And when everyone is hiding, it creates a culture of fear and pretense. But the moment one person dares to break the pattern, the energy shifts. When you show up as yourself, unfiltered, genuine, and unapologetic, you disrupt that cycle. You become proof that it's possible to live freely without needing approval from everyone else. And that proof matters because often people don't believe something is possible until they see it with their own eyes. Think about it. When someone speaks their truth, even when it's uncomfortable, it inspires you to think, maybe I can speak mine too. When someone chooses to chase their dream, even when the odds are stacked against them, it sparks the thought, if they can do it, maybe I can too. That's the ripple effect of authenticity. Your actions plant seeds of courage in people you may never even meet. You don't have to be famous or have a massive platform to inspire others. Sometimes it's the quietest acts of honesty that make the loudest impact. A friend who opens up about their struggles can give someone else the courage to seek help. A colleague who stands firm in their values can give others the confidence to speak up. A parent who lives authentically teaches their children to embrace their true selves instead of trying to fit into someone else's mold. The beauty of this is that you never really know how far your influence is. Someone might watch you from a distance, see your example, and make a life-changing decision because of it. They might never tell you. You might never know. But your authenticity creates invisible ripples that move far beyond what you can see. And yes, it takes bravery. Being yourself means risking judgment. It means standing out in a world that often rewards conformity. But here's the thing, your courage has a multiplying effect. One person's bravery makes it easier for the next person, and then the next. And before you know it, an entire environment begins to change simply because one person decided to be real. So don't underestimate the power of your example. Even when it feels small, even when you think no one's paying attention, someone is. And your decision to live authentically might be the very thing that gives them the strength to stop hiding, to start living their truth, and to pass that courage on to someone else. Remember, the impact of being yourself is never just about you. It's about the countless lives you touch, directly or indirectly, simply by choosing to be real. That is how movements start, not with big speeches or grand gestures, but with one person choosing to show up fully as who they are and inspiring others to do the same. So live boldly, live honestly, live authentically, because every time you do, you're not just changing your life, you're changing someone else's too. Living in alignment when your words, actions, and values speak the same truth. There's a special kind of peace that comes when your life feels aligned, when what you say, what you do, and what you believe are all telling the same story. That's what true self-expression really is. It's not just about being honest with the world. It's about being honest with yourself. It's choosing to live in a way where your values guide your steps, even when it isn't easy or popular. So many people walk through life feeling conflicted because there's a gap between who they are and how they live. They say one thing but do another. They hold certain beliefs but act in ways that betray them. They present an image to the world that doesn't match the truth inside. And that gap, that misalignment, creates constant tension. It leaves you restless, second guessing yourself, and feeling disconnected from your own life. But when you decide to live in alignment, something shifts. Suddenly, you don't need to remember who you were pretending to be. You don't feel the weight of double standards or hidden truths. You become clear, steady, and strong because your life is no longer built on pretense. It's built on integrity. Alignment means that your decisions reflect your principles, even when it costs you something. It's turning down opportunities that compromise your values, even if they look appealing. It's speaking up for what you believe in, even if your voice shakes. It's choosing relationships, careers, and paths that feel right in your soul, even if they don't make sense to others. And let's be real, it won't always be easy. There will be moments when living in alignment means walking away from things that once felt comfortable. There will be times you'll be misunderstood. You might lose people or opportunities because they don't fit the life you're building. But what you gain is far more valuable. You gain self-respect, gain clarity, you gain freedom. When your actions, words, and values line up, you stop chasing external approval because you already have your own. You stop overthinking every move because you know you're coming from a place of honesty. And the people who stay in your life will be the ones who truly respect and understand the real you, not a version you created to please them. Living in alignment also creates trust. People can feel when you're genuine. They can sense when you mean what you say. And that trust becomes a bridge, one that deepens connections and inspires others to live with the same kind of integrity. You become someone others can rely on, someone whose presence feels safe because it's rooted in truth. But perhaps the most powerful part of living in alignment is how it feels inside. It feels calm. It feels light. It feels like coming home to yourself. You stop feeling pulled in different directions because there's only one direction that truly matters, your own. So ask yourself, do my daily choices reflect the person I say I want to be? Do my relationships, my work, my habits align with what I truly value? And if the answer is no, then it's time to make small but intentional changes to close that gap. Because the closer you live to your truth, the more powerful, peaceful, and purposeful your life becomes. Living in alignment isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about showing up every day with integrity and refusing to compromise the values that make you who you are. And when you do that, you don't just find yourself, you create a life that finally feels like it's yours. Not everyone will accept the real you. And that's okay. One of the hardest truths about living authentically is this: not everyone will like it. When you decide to show up as the real you, some people will misunderstand you, some will judge you, Some will even walk away. And that's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's proof that you're finally living right. For so long, many of us bend ourselves into shapes that make others comfortable. We shrink parts of ourselves to avoid rejection. We stay silent to keep the peace. We agree with things we don't believe just to fit in. And in the process, we lose pieces of who we are. But here's what you need to remember. You weren't born to please everyone. You weren't meant to fit every mold. When you start living in your truth, it acts like a filter. The people who were only around for the version of you that played small or pretended, they'll fall away. And as painful as that can feel, it's actually a gift. Because the people who remain are the ones who truly see you. They're the ones who value you for your heart, your honesty, and your essence, not for the mask you wore. It's not easy letting go. Sometimes it's friends, family members, or long-time connections who struggle with your authenticity. They may say you've changed, that you're different now. And maybe you are, but different in the best way. You're becoming more you than ever before. The truth is, some people were attached to who you were pretending to be, not to who you really are. And that's why they can't stay. But don't let that stop you. Because the right people, the ones who truly matter, will not only stay, they'll draw closer. When you're authentic, you attract authenticity. When you stop performing, you create space for real relationships to flourish. And those connections, they're deeper, they're stronger, they're built on honesty, not illusion. Think of it like this. You could spend your whole life trying to be liked by everyone and still feel lonely. Or you could choose to be yourself, lose a few people along the way, and gain relationships that actually fill your soul. Which would you rather have, quantity or quality? Surface level approval or meaningful connection. And here's the beautiful part. When the wrong people leave, it opens the door for the right people to enter. The kind of people who don't just tolerate your truth, but celebrate it. The kind of people who encourage your growth instead of resenting it. The kind of people who feel lighter around you because you're not asking them to pretend either. Yes, there will be moments of loneliness as you transition. There will be times you question if it's worth it. But remind yourself, would you rather lose yourself to keep others happy or lose others to keep yourself whole? The answer becomes clear the more you honor your own truth. So don't fear the loss. Trust it. Trust that what's meant for you will remain. Trust that the right people will love you not in spite of your authenticity, but because of it. And trust that every closed door simply makes room for something better, truer, and more aligned with who you're becoming. Not everyone will accept the real you, but the ones who do. They'll bring more depth, love, and meaning into your life than 100 superficial connections ever could. And that's a trade worth making every single time. Authenticity creates change. How one genuine life can shift the world. Change doesn't always come from grand speeches, massive movements, or powerful positions. More often, it begins quietly, with one person choosing to live honestly and fully. Authenticity, in its simplest form, is a catalyst. By refusing to shrink, hide, or conform to what the world expects, you become a living example of what's possible. And that example carries more power than you might ever realize. We tend to underestimate the influence of one genuine life. We think, I'm just one person. What difference can I really make? But look closely, and you'll see that real change rarely starts with a crowd. It starts with one individual who decides to live differently. One person who speaks their truth when everyone else stays silent. One person who steps into their calling even when it feels risky. That one spark of courage can light a fire in countless others. When you choose authenticity, you create a ripple effect. People notice when you're not afraid to stand in your own truth. They feel your confidence, your integrity, your freedom. And without even saying a word, you're giving others permission to do the same. You're planting a seed that whispers, you can live this way too. You don't have to hide anymore. Think about the leaders, creators, and change makers who've inspired you. What makes them so powerful? It's not that they were flawless or universally accepted. It's that they were real. They dared to show the world who they were, even when it wasn't convenient. And because of their authenticity, they shifted perspectives, opened minds, and inspired action. The same principle applies to you. You might not see yourself as a leader, but every time you live in alignment with your truth, you're leading in your own way. You're leading your children, your friends, your coworkers, your community, sometimes without even knowing it. Authenticity doesn't need a stage to make an impact. It makes a difference in quiet conversations, in the choices you make, and in the energy you bring into a room. But let's be clear, choosing authenticity takes courage. It means risking criticism. It means stepping away from comfort zones. It means being willing to stand alone at times. Yet, it is through that bravery that change is born. When people see you living freely, even in the face of challenges, they begin to question the limits they've placed on themselves. They start to wonder if they can live that boldly. Why can't I? That's how transformation spreads, one person at a time. One honest conversation leads to another. One act of integrity inspires someone else to act. One authentic life sets off a chain reaction. And before you know it, a single decision to stop hiding has touched more lives than you could ever count. The truth is, you don't have to change the entire world all at once. You just have to change someone's world. And you do that not by trying to be perfect or extraordinary, but by being unapologetically yourself. That is where your greatest influence lies, not in imitation, but in authenticity. So don't underestimate your power. Don't dismiss the quiet ways your impacts others. Live fully, live honestly, live boldly. Because every time you choose authenticity over fear, you're not just transforming your own life, you're creating the kind of change that lasts one heart at a time. So here's what it all comes down to. You don't have to be louder than everyone else. You don't have to force change, chase approval, or try to be someone you're not. The most powerful thing you can ever do is show up as yourself fully, honestly, unapologetically. Because when you do, you live with integrity. Inspire others without even trying. You build deeper, truer connections. And you create change not by pretending to be extraordinary, but by being real. Not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will stay. And that's okay. The right people, the right opportunities, the right doors. They'll find you, not the mask you used to wear. So stop shrinking. Stop hiding. Stop waiting for permission to be who you already are. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs you. And your courage to live authentically might just be the thing that changes someone else's life forever. Live your truth. Lead by example. And watch how your one genuine life starts to shift the world, one heart at a time.